Welcome everyone for this session. So first of all, let me welcome our esteemed panelists, experts. Thank you so much. I know it's a busy time thank you very much for sparing time to share your thoughts and your wisdom with all of us. So let me start with the youngest one. Hi, Megha. Thank you very much for joining, Dr. Megha.
Thank
So
you.
Dr. Megha is assistant professor in NITI, Mumbai. But she's very passionate about diversity and inclusion as a subject. She teaches also, and she does participate in various collaborations around this. So thank you very much for joining in, and we are very eager to know your view from academic world, what's happening, what are the research going on. So we'll love to hear from you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to learning and deliberating with all the panelists here. Thank you so much.
Sure, I'm sure we will have. And second, we have another Dr. Grace Samsung, my old friend. Grace, thank you very much for joining it. So Grace is a veteran in thought leader in HR, almost every aspect of it, but diversity is certainly her passion, one of the passion that she has, and she heads HR in Informatica. She's based in Bangalore. Thank you, Grace, for joining in. Right, since
For
this,
having me, Sanjeev. Very kind words. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
yeah, this and by choice, this time we invited people, two experts from technology, right, Prachi and Grace, because we're talking about digital and the participation in technology roles, etc., is becoming very, very popular, very debated subject. So we'd like to hear your personal experiences and interventions that you're doing. And Prachi, thank you very much for joining. Prachi is the head of diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging, all the four dimensions of diversity at APAC level at IBM. And IBM, I had the fortune of working in IBM for a few years, and I can say with pride that this is one of the organizations which is way ahead of rest of the organizations in terms of the maturity, in terms of the diversity. It is in the DNA, right? It's in the blood, right? I would say. Thank you, Prachi, for joining in.
I'm equally proud to be an IBMer, and thank you very much for sharing space with me today.
Thanks. And last but not least, we have Anish. Anish, who is a multi-talented person. I just came to know he's very deeply into cricket, and he supports women cricket. He's in Chennai. He's the thought leader. He's a big influencer in HR, and he's a principal consultant and also co-founder with SS Consulting. He's based in Chennai. Thank you, Anish, for joining in. I wanted to keep the panel diverse, so I had to have one male member. So we got you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure. By the way, I'm in Kochi, Kerala. So
Kochi,
I
sorry.
get to talk to some of those aspects as well. So glad to be able to connect and be with all of you. Looking forward to learning and sharing.
All right. And along with me is my partner and friend, Sushil Tayal, who will also be there along with us to share his thoughts. So I think with that introduction, let's dive into the session straightway. Before I do that, few ground rules, typical, some guidelines. There's no rules, just guidelines. Keep it very, very interactive, because this is not about only hearing from expert. It is just a dialogue. It's a conversation that we're doing. 1 hour is too short a time for such an important and a vast subject, but we'll try to stay focused on, very intersection of digital and gender equity. That's where we would like to focus on. And I think the focus will keep more on the best practices, what has worked for us, then the problem. We all know the problem, right? In and out, right? All of us. But I think it'll be a good idea to focus a little more on what has worked, what are some good practices that we have seen around. I think that is what the focus would be. Wonderful. And to the audience, I can tell you we'll have a parallel session running in the chat. So I would encourage you to keep engaging with the audience if they have a remark or a questions when you're not speaking. So that also will be wonderful. So let's leverage chat as well. And this session is being recorded for everyone's information. So before I go there, let me briefly introduce Enabling World, which is the organization that I represent along with my partner Sushil. Vijay, if you can move to the next slide. So Enabling World, we are celebrating 10th year this year with your good wishes. Thank you very much. And we are, 10 years old company. We are focused on few areas, which is HR consulting advisory. We are into DNI, as we mentioned, is in the center of what we do. We are quite, significantly involved in employee well-being and leadership and talent development. These are few of the activities that we do. That's just a brief introduction. Now, as we get to the session, thank you, Vijaya, for sharing that. As we all know, the focus this year is digital, which is very interesting. And as globally, I think the digital access to everyone, especially women and in unrepresented category, as we call it, in suburbs, in the low income countries, etc. Even access to digital internet or digital devices itself can be a big boost for growth and development to everyone, actually, especially women. And the research says that there is no equal access. There's a parity in terms of the access to internet, access to devices, which becomes instrumental for our growth. In today's time, digital is not only with IT firms, this is everywhere, every walk of life, whether we buy something, we travel, or we eat something, whether IT company or traditional companies, digital is all across. That's a part of our life, right? So we cannot but ignore discussing the impact digital has on the gender parity that we have, right? Or the disparity that we have. It's very important. That intersection is very interesting. And that's the topic we want to specifically discuss today, right? Now, I was reading some report in the UN report, which says that the digital access, the lack of digital access to women itself across the world, because of that only, we are losing about maybe $1 trillion as a, I mean, forget about it's a right thing to do, but it makes business sense. We lost an opportunity of about $1 trillion, opportunity, and which is going in last one decade, and it's going to become 1.5 trillion by 25. That's the projection we are making. So it's not only the right thing to do, but also it makes a lot of business sense. It helps the economy. It helps everyone, right? So that is one thing. And so I think that's with that context, let's begin the discussion. Let's dive into it straightway, right? First of all, maybe Dr. Megha, let me start with you, if I can. So there are a lot of terms being used, right? And interchangeably, which is said equity and equality, right? While many of us will be clear, but I can tell you, I mean, it's confusing sometimes to many of us, right? Can you start with, and don't give a lecture, right?
Yeah.
I know you're a professor, you're used to that, but very simple terms
Yes.
to all of us. How do you unpack this equity and equality, and where do we start with? What's the starting point and what's the end goal? Can you do that in a crisp manner?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll keep in mind, it is a problem with our profession that we suffer sometimes from verbal diarrhea. So I'll steer away from that. But I think what really helps to all the participants, just for clarity, what really helps, I think, us is to visualize. Let's visualize a racing track, right? Now, when we see a racing track, I'm sure all the participants will agree that when you see the positioning of the runners, of people who are running in that track, the one in the first circle, which is a smallest circle, stands the furthest in the when we talk about the various participants who are participating, various athletes who are participating. I think that representation really helps us understand equity and equality. So what is happening? The person who is in the innermost circle stands the furthest because he or she or they has to cover the least amount of ground. So that's why you're positioning the athletes in that position. Similarly, when we talk about equity or equality, equity is the process wherein we try to create platforms for people who do not have access to opportunities. And in order to make sure that people get equal opportunities, we need to have equitable measures, because equality is the outcome and equity is the process through which we'll achieve that. So at the end of the day, when we're looking at various interventions or affirmative actions that organizations take, the real purpose is to create a level playing field so that everyone understands that all of us come from different backgrounds. Certain people have certain privileges while others don't. So how to create that environment where all of them have equal access to opportunities and support. That, in my opinion, is equity. And the outcome of that would be equality. And it would be great if other panelists would like to pitch into that.
I think you have explained it beautifully. I think that example was absolutely apt for us to understand. But anyone wants to add to that?
I would just take maybe 30 seconds, Sanjeev, to say, when you say equality, you're probably giving the same size jackets to everybody, which we often do in Informatica. And when we say equity, we basically check for the best fit and give them the right size jackets. That's all from me.
Here you are. Here you are. Wow, two great examples: the racing track and the jacket. Absolutely, it makes it clear to me at least. So thank you very much with that. So Anish, if I thank you, Megha and Grace. Anish, coming to you because you are, in terms of your consulting, your HR influencer, big one, and you're connected across the industries, right? What do you think is happening? First of all, on women's participation in the workforce itself, there's a fundamental issue, right? Forget about anything else. The biggest one is the participation, and it starts from education, first of all, right? And then which leads to, workforce participation. What are you seeing as a trend of women participation in the workforce across industries?
See, if I look at the IT and knowledge services industry, if I take it in one bucket, there's a lot of, I would say, advancement, but again, within the metros, I think that is marked differently. If I look at, let's say, manufacturing, the situation is really, really bad. So it's a very, very marked opposite from what we see in knowledge services. And if you look at maybe the banking and other places, it is. I think the let me bring in another part here. See, one of the reasons why when I see these things, I look at the why behind all this. So there is a lot of most of us in this part of the world are brought up with a very high degree of patriarchy being around there. So it's like the elephant in the room. So that is the first place to be looking at, and I don't see the affirmative action and other aspects have been around, but see this one aspect is we need to keep talking about it, and then see we as a whole to find solutions. So I think forums like this should be encouraged. And
so you feel it is sector. I mean, different sectors have different participation rate, of course, which is there. But I think I was reading a report, the ILO report actually for India, that India, the women participation has gone lower than the pre-COVID time, because COVID had a bad impact across the industry, and especially on women participation in the workforce. It adversely impacted. But I think I was reading a report, Prachi, I mean, anything that you are deep into this subject, what's happening? Because I read a report where the women participation is even lower than pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID stage. So what is the trend? Are we in the right direction, or we are in the reverse direction?
We are in the right direction, but there are certain gaps which has happened with COVID. Of course, with COVID, we clearly saw that our primary caregivers across the country are women, and therefore they moved out of the industry. They moved out of work because there were kids to be taken care of, and that was really sad. But we lost a lot of women. The corporate world lost a lot of women at that time, and post COVID as well. One is the sad story, and one is a good story. The sad story is that women are still sort of struggling with a lot of responsibilities in and around home. It's still a hybrid culture, and therefore much more responsibility is on women. The good side of it is that there are many women who've realized that they probably don't want to get into a 9-to-5 job, but they want to start something on their own. They want to start a part-time opportunity. They want to get into a part-time opportunity and start a small business. And do something which is more probably creative, innovative, and in line with what they'd like to do with their skills, and not really a straight jacketed 9-to-5 job.
Okay, so there is some ray of hope, right? Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, so let's begin, Grace. A question to you, if you can help us. As I was saying, first thing is entry into the workforce, right, and hiring. And today we want to focus more on how's technology helping and not helping the whole gender parity, or the divide that we have, or the gap that we have. So in hiring, can you help us with some solution? And I'm sure IT firm, we would have adopted the first adopter of many technology in various HR processes. How's technology helping in removing this gender bias from the hiring and helping better hiring or more hiring for women, deserving women employees into the workforce, which otherwise would not have happened? So can you guide us on what's happening around the industry and maybe what you're doing in Informatica, if you can?
Sure, happy to, Sanjay.
You went on mute.
Thanks for that question. Yeah, so I would say technology has definitely been a blessing for all industries, I would say, and more so for the IT industry, right? Especially because I'll kind of dwell into the previous question for a second, just to kind of bring that context. After COVID, we too in the IT space saw a lot of women moving out of the corporate world, right? Sadly so. And therefore, all IT companies are gearing up, have been gearing up to ensure we leverage technology to the maximum to really ensure this gender gap, and infusing more of women into the workforce becomes our primary focus. Now, let me kind of bring the focus more to a very solution oriented approach, right? First, we did try and use technology in terms of podcasts, in terms of some live streams, in terms of even streaming messages from our CEO himself, in terms of how essential it is to make our workforce inclusive and how can we really make it equal, right? And that really also points at infusing more women into the workforce, right? So the first thing that we did was embrace technology to build awareness, right? Awareness across the length and breadth of the organization, because what can happen is there's always this been there done that effect in most of the old timers, right? So we need to really give them a refreshing insight into why gender, and so they're able to better subscribe to the approach. Second, the way we use technology was to kind of leverage all of the sourcing tools in a very targeted approach, right? To say, how can you really, not just build a pipeline of women who can be hired for potential roles, but you also kind of, do your own research to ensure 99% of the time they're a good fit for a role that's already going to be on the offering, right? Because we try to narrow down on a very strong pipeline for women at all levels, right? We didn't really look at infusing women because there are some companies which talk about infusing women only at the top of the pyramid, right? That's maybe not the best thing to do. It's important to kind of nurture women all along so they're able to grow into senior positions and roles, right? So we really try to leverage technology there. And in terms of assessment tools, we ensured we leverage in-house assessment tools to really, bring out the best in people, and also make it outcome oriented interviews rather than making it gender oriented interviews, right? And of course, the fifth thing that we did was we rolled out a program that is still in the running in Informatica called the
Mhm.
inclusive interview panels, right? Where
Wow.
we have interviewing panels. Even if they are virtual interviews, we always had women on the panel, right? Equal amount of equal mix of gender when we're evaluating and hiring people, so you're able to really make that informed hiring decision, right? So these are some things that we've continued to do. And of course, needless to mention, I think from a background verification, etc., we obviously use the best of the companies run by women to get some of these opportunities for them, so they're able to kind of also able to turn around women workforce in the workplace. And one interesting data that I'd like to take 30 seconds more to share is whenever we've seen the red, green, and the amber cases when it comes to background verification, we've not had a single woman in the red or the amber category. And that's, I think, India's right to say that we've never had, we have had cases where we've fired a lot of the other gender, in terms of background verification, but we've never had in the last 5 years a single woman fall in that category.
That's amazing. I never
Yeah.
thought of this actually. I never thought of it. So I think it's more the reason. I think one more narrative, one more reason why we should have more women. And I'm not saying that, I mean, since the men folks are more in the number, right? I mean, they're more adventurous. Sometimes they can, in India, especially background verification. I know I was a global TA leader in IBM in one of the division. I know what pain we can go through, and that's a maybe typically India phenomenon. But I think more the reason that retention, engagement, and in terms of the ethics, in terms of putting up what you are, right, is more probability with women. So I think one more reason why we should look for more women hiring. But technology-wise, Grace, anything tools that you're using to? My specific question was also great practices that you have. Any technology that you're using, which like maybe some people do, masking the names, etc., so that people don't get to know? I'm sure you must be using some of those things, and you're using outcome-based interview, right?
Correct. And we have we work with a tool that we use called Great People, and right from the end to end of assessments and feedback and all of that happens there in a very neutral manner, I would say. And Great People has really been great at helping Informatica attract the right
And
talent.
I wish, Grace, we reach a stage where we don't have to put a women in the panel just to make sure it is unbiased, right? Gradually, I think we should reach that stage.
That's true.
It's a journey. It's a journey. Absolutely, it's a journey. Prachi, coming to you, we say technology is helping this gender divide, right? And I have two concerns. One, while it is helping, but at the same time, I also hear reports like with Chat, GPT, etc. A lot of technology coming, a lot of jobs are going away, right? And unfortunately, that's my impression. And the research says that when it comes to COVID, when the jobs were taken away, when it comes to automation, when the jobs are taken away, it affects women more than men, because many of the jobs which are maybe routine job or repetitive jobs predominantly, fortunately, unfortunately, are done by women employees, right? And they get affected much more. So is it right to assume that advancement in technology actually is doing disservice to the gender parity or participation in the workforce? Your comment.
Advancement of technology can't be and shouldn't be stopped. Absolutely not. I mean,
It won't stop also. I mean, because we are saying it will not stop.
Absolutely can't be and shouldn't be stopped. What has to stop is our unawareness. Our unconscious bias has to be transformed into conscious inclusion, which
But is that a fact? But is that a fact that women are losing more jobs because of automation than men? Is that correct? Yes or no?
Absolutely. In the industry, women are losing more jobs because of automation, because you're right, they are more into enabling roles rather than technology roles. So we have less women in technology, and therefore more women in enablement roles, and therefore more women obviously lost their jobs during the COVID period, unless you have a process or a guideline or a program where you clearly say that you clearly see who are the people losing their jobs because of technology, and sort of being mindful there. Having said that, and that is the reason why it's more important to create to deal with the systemic bias. Why is it that women are only doing enablement roles? Why is it that we don't have enough women in technology? We have to start somewhere. So Sanjeev, rather than dealing with what can't be stopped, technology can't be stopped, and people will lose roles if they are not upskilling themselves, and I'm glad that women are no exception. What has to be an exception is equip women, train, upskill women to an extent that they do meaningful roles. They are at the helm of affairs in technology, and they can really get on to decision making, managerial roles where they take decisions, where they're not losing roles anymore. And therefore, just looking inwards or being non-discriminatory is not enough. It's really important to look extra, being an extrovert as well, being very bold as an ally, and create a environment where systemic bias is dealt with.
Okay, so Megha, you had a point.
I think Prachi beautifully summed it up. But I just wanted to add to Prachi another point that I think it's very, very important when you're talking about women rising to more leadership positions and being able to take decisions to have sponsors in the organization. And I think that role of sponsors, it's not only the responsibility of a man, but of course of women in leadership positions as well. Because when you have sponsors in organizations, that is when you can see true change and representation happening, because it is these people who create opportunities for you, who create visibility for you, who tell people who are influential that, you know what, this is an individual, this is a woman here who has a lot of potential and she deserves this opportunity. And not just women, but other underrepresented cohorts as well. So I think when organizations make it a point to also have a systemic process wherein they ensure that they are mindfully creating sponsors in organization, or creating that culture where people want to sponsor individuals coming from underrepresented cohorts, I think that also creates a lot of cultural shift and shift in the mindset as well. Because I think when mindset changes, that's when real action really begins to happen. Yes,
That's true. That's true. Thanks for sharing that. So, Anish, anything you want to add to this?
Can I? Yes, yes.
Yes, I could sense you have a point to share. Go ahead, please.
Glad that Dr. Megha spoke about the mindset. I think place where, in my experience, what has been when I moved from a tier 1 and metro city to a smaller city, one of the things that we had to work on was this belief here that, of course, I talked about patriarchy being so laden here. So the way to position it was, and which was, it took a lot of iterations to reach here for me. So to tell folks that, okay, the business leaders in particular, that the strengths of these, that's where the term equity is so important. So you link that with the strengths of that gender. In fact, there are now 3 recognized genders. So if you look at and bring in the skills part based on the strengths of each person. So that is where then, so evolution has given us, I mean, each gender has a lot of special powers which evolution has given us. So that if the leaders can utilize well. So rather than just saying for the sake of let's say diversity, get the thing, we look at the strength that each role or the person brings in, and what gender can additionally give a fillip or the boost to that particular role. That can be brought in then, because technology, all those kind of biases will exist for some more time. But if any business owner, any leader who understands that there is a strength and I'm getting more value out of this whole deal by hiring or by placing this person. Even and when you're looking at inclusion, it's not just gender; it's beyond, and there's a lot of other aspects and diversity that come in. So I just want to bring that.
No, it has to be on the merit, Anish. You're right, and I remember
absolutely. That's why I use the word strength. So and we have very unbiased ways of figuring out, like say action learning based on experiential based selection, that to be figuring out the merit part of it. So I don't think that's a problem. It's just the mindset that Dr. Megha pointed out. That is something that needs some. We need a lot of catalysts and allies to be able to change that mindset.
Absolutely, and it is enablement. It's not on merit, and it's not a quota. I mean, I just want to call it out because sometimes there's a debate, a disservice we do by saying, oh, we have to promote 3 women or we have to hire 4 irrespective. That's the biggest disservice we can do to our women colleagues. I mean, first of all, right? So that's something we have to stay away, absolutely stay away from. Now, Grace, in terms of the growth, I was reading a report that in technology sector in particularly, where you have spent most of your time on, if we say across the industries, when it comes to promotion of employees within the organization, generally 86 women versus 100 men, right? That's the general ratio. But when it comes to IT technology, it drops down to something like 50, right? Further, right? While we think technology is easy, right? It's not, anyone can do, but I think the women in technology is a big issue, especially at a leadership level. So even if you have handled this hiring part, right? But the growth or the blooming within the organization is a big challenge, right? And there are biases, unconscious biases, inner critique within the women employees. There are a lot of barriers that a person have to fight through to move up, right? And the data is very sad in terms of, across industries it is 86, but in IT it is 50, right? 52% kind of thing. So how are you as a HR leader in an IT firm? How are you dealing with, what's your view across in the industry?
Yeah, important question, Sanjeev. To be quite honest with you, picking from whatever you talked about, right? Women have to fight through, right? We are trying to transform that fighting through to making it cruising through, right? Because it shouldn't actually even sound that way, right? So, as a HR leader in our software development firm, I can tell you the struggle is still on, and the struggle
Mhm.
is real, right? It's not so much, and I can give you certain of those to give perspective, right? One is we've had a lot of women, you know, give up very easily, right? Not even have that self confidence as much as the organization believes in them, right? So the first thing is to empower women, help them realize how much they are worthy, and how much more they can accomplish, right? I personally think, especially post COVID, there's always a reluctance to aim big, to go and shoot big, right? So somewhere we are, thinking about boot camps for women, where we have more and women really, look from within, and really realize and believe how much can be accomplished by each of them. That's point number one. The
And you saw that
second,
was helpful, Grace, to boot camp just to rekindle their self-confidence and
yes,
energy, because you get exhausted. So many
exactly.
things are pulling you down after you're a human being. You get
Right.
exhausted after some
Yes,
time and you
yes,
give
yes,
up,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and when I say boot camps, these are not classroom sessions, etc., where everybody's just walking into like a college or a school mode, right? We are talking about a blend of skip level discussions, a blend of just letting people speak, a blend of what are those obstacles that we could kind of remove in their journey towards the next level, etc. And also, the most important thing is, when we as an organization, when leadership, senior most of leadership, can actually pay attention to the words that are not spoken. A lot of times with women, what happens is everything seems perfect when it comes to dialogue and discussion, because a lot of words are what they want, what they actually mean is not spoken out there, right? So we as an organization encourage this two-way communication, skip level, multiple of those things that have gone into boot camp, including some of those enablement interventions, which are kind of packaged in a way they don't feel like it's an enablement session. It's just a lunch and learn kind of a session and stuff
Okay.
like that, right? Apart from that, what we're really trying to do is we're also trying to look at pipe and enable them before they could get to their next level in terms of promotion, etc. Because the fear of an unknown future is what we've seen as a trend of why women are hesitant to take that plunge, right? And of course, the next thing is really ensure our male allies are embracing the whole concept of women being equal to men, and really being out there to hold a flag for them, and to hold a flag for each other, right? It's also not just about only focusing on men, but outcome oriented decisions, role oriented decisions, right? That's what we want to push our leadership towards. And I wouldn't say that we've already arrived there. We are
But
in
you're reaching there.
the
It's
journey.
not easy thing to solve, and I think it'll take time, but I think we must do whatever we can do and not get frustrated or disappointed, because this is a long fight. I was reading something. I'll Prachi hear you. It'll take hundreds of years, right? Before we reach the gender parity, not in our lifetime, but we have
So,
an answer to give to our next generation. What did we do our bit to accelerate and reduce that gap? Maybe 5%, 10% that we are at least accountable for, right? Prachi, your view on this?
Sanjeev, just a 30-second there, but I must,
Sure.
say kudos to our male colleagues out there, because they've been very, very welcoming on this topic. right? And I don't think we would have attained whatever we have in terms of success in Informatica without male colleagues being so very supportive of the gender parity, equality, equity, whatever you want to call it, right? So hats off to each and every one of them out there.
It has to be inclusive growth, of course. Otherwise, it should not become a women club, women helping women kind of thing. It doesn't happen. We are in humanity. We are all together. It has to be all inclusive. Prachi, your viewpoint. Unmute and
Look at the audience in this call. I can bet that there are more men than women. So it just says
wow.
that, the male allies we absolutely have and we need. And we love men. It's diversity, equity, inclusion is not against men. It's not women versus men. It's women and men and all genders that come along with it. That is one. I just finished, just before entering into this panel discussion, I just finished a call with all of our hiring managers at IBM, and we were doing a session with them on trans inclusion. And Sanjeev,
Okay.
and to everyone, I mean, we are doing focused hiring this year on transgender inclusion, and the kind of questions
Excellent.
and the sympathy and empathy and the openness these hiring managers had. And they're not very senior hiring managers. They're in the business line, and they're starting to be managers, and they're so enthusiastic to hire diversity in their team. And their questions were totally good. How can I equip myself on how to engage with transgender people? How can I create an environment where I not only hire but actually retain people? So things like that. So look at the allyship that we have in the industry already. To what Grace said about, a lot of things happen with women and they're unspoken. And I want to give you an example. In fact, Sanjeev, you and I spoke about it. A very close friend of mine at a very senior position in one of the tech companies was talking to this company, another major tech company, for a very big opportunity. I mean, and
Yes, we spoke.
larger than what she's doing currently. And she met six people there, very senior people, and the impression she got clearly was that her work-life balance, work-life integration, whatever you may call it, will be kicked out of the window. Because the impression she clearly got was that you have to work like 18, 20 hours in the role. We all do it like that. What is work-life balance? This was not to scare her. This was just so normal for this company that this is how everyone's speaking. And as much
and this is how, Prachi, there are certain roles, the way the JDs come out, they're not meant for women. They are very, tilted towards male, candidates, right? We don't even know sometimes. And there are technology can help, Grace. You would also know, where you can you can evaluate a JD. It can tell you, is it neutral, gender neutral, or it is tilted towards male without our knowing itself, right? So there are technology which is helping, absolutely, to your point, Prachi.
Yeah. And finally, Sanjeev, she's decided not to take up the role. As much as she wanted to do this, as much as she has the talent to do this really well, she's decided not to give up her life for work and some more money.
I'm very happy she did that, and I hope she would have also given a message back to the panel why she's not joining, right? So that there's a lesson, there's a learning that they get out of it.
Yes.
Nilima has a question. Nilima, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question? Why don't we do that? She's asking how women can promote other women at workplace. It happens but few times. Nilima, you want to talk about it? She's at a noisy place. Okay. So anyone who wants to take this up?
I can pick it up, Sanjeev.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
I can give you a live example of what we've been thinking about, and this year most likely we'll get there, is to really get a lot of the senior women out there in technology to start speaking about their lives, not just, how successful they are, but, what did it take of them to really get to where they are, and to also hit the spotlight on they are still happy human beings and they do have a life and a family and they're able to manage it all. And where do you really cut the if I can use cut the crap, right? In terms of take follow your lean methodology to say uneventful, wasteful actions, just cut it out there and fill your day with all essential acts, and that's how you probably can get to wherever you want to get to. So we are working on a program. It's yet to be christened as of now, but we're working on a program where women, leaders are going to be out there on roadshows and stuff like that to really inspire and motivate women, and also to share their personal story on how they made it happen. Earlier, we released a booklet kind of a thing with their personal stories. I think there were about 300 women who talked about their personal journey and where they think they've been successful and how they arrived at it. But now we're trying to take it to the next level to bring leaders onto roadshows, especially women.
And I think, Grace, it's a great idea, and I'm sure it will help, because there's nothing like listening to someone and getting inspired from that story. There's nothing like that. We may say anything out of it, right? And maybe within the organization or outside the organization, I'm sure that we should get there. All right. So, Megha, next question to you. You've been quiet for some time. So the question is, when we talk about technology and its impact on the gender parity, that's what we're talking about exactly today, right? I mean, there's many issues, but we want to stay focused on that. One of the aspect is our digital footprint for everyone is huge, right? We are maybe on the Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, etc., etc. We do transactions online, so our digital footprint is huge, right? And the research says we all are vulnerable. We do actually a lot of programs on the cyber safety, what we should do and not do, etc. I also know that women are more vulnerable. They are the target, right? Because of the exposure or innocence, sometimes they can easily get trapped into this, unfortunately. And you know what it happens? They withdraw from the social footprint, which does further damage in terms of their progress or networking, etc. Right? Have you? I mean, I'm sure this is an area that you are passionate about. Have you studied about this? What do you know are the trends? What should we do about it? And anyone can jump in and act on this, because I think withdrawing ourselves from social footprint is not the right answer, right? We have to be careful and still be active, right? So any views from you, and jump in anyone who wants to say this, and from the audience, if you want to comment, continue. Go ahead, Megha.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. What happens is that you're absolutely right that women are subject to more bullying, online harassment, and trolling, and so on and so forth. And there is really no end to it, be it Twitter, Instagram, and it doesn't matter. You could be a nobody, you could be a celebrity, and women do tend to be targeted more. So I think the first step here is at our own level and at an organizational level that there has to be a certain amount of sensitization. There has to be a certain amount of knowledge in terms of what are these phishing mails, what is trolling, what kind of accounts are out there, and just having a basic understanding of how you can track or how you can understand that this process of being safe technologically when you are on these platforms. What are the ways in which you can engage with people, block people, refrain from certain interactions? I think that basic sensitization is the must, because cybercrime is at an all-time high. So having those interventions, basic understanding is the first step. I'm sure my co-panelists who are in this space will be able to add more in terms of
just jump
more
in
interventions.
any quick thing that you are doing.
So I think
around this.
The other thing also, just to add to Dr. Megha's point, I think what's important is to also ensure, apart from awareness, a lot of times we all know what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But do we really follow and do it? A lot of people know end to end of how quickly to get slimmer. Just a hypothetical example, right? But do we all follow it is the question. So we are very aware of all of the, cyber security systems out there, etc. But actually to ensure, and that's what we do at Informatica, because we are a data company, and for us, security prime, right? So we ensure our cyber security is at its highest, right? So that gives a lot of reassurance to our women employees to really make bold moves, to really ensure we are out there in the social media, and there's maximum footprint out there, and reassuring that because we have such a sophisticated cyber security system in place, we know that there are not many people out there who can crack it. So I think that's important to actually walk the talk and invest in the cyber security, interventions that are required and tools that are required. So then you know that you're sending signals very strongly to your, women employees and of course male employees out there to say that we're
It's for everyone, of course. It's for everyone, of course. But I think the women employees are more vulnerable. Anish, do you also see what's happening in the industry around this?
Yeah, see, one part, let's see, we're now on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional social network, but a lot of women refuse to come onto LinkedIn. And some of the, actually, even today there was a month back, I said, okay, you start by liking the post. And then today I checked with her what's happening. She said, no, I've liked the post. I said, now, okay, you go next step. You comment on the post that you've liked on. So some of these things just being there, maybe there are hundreds of webinars where this is said as a thing to do, but unless we connect and help, and it is not that this person does not know how to type or write or think, that's not the case, but to give that support on to this platform, because because of the scare that the media usually creates about social media, LinkedIn is also taken as another social media. By the way, I have also got those kind of the threats and kind of stuff from LinkedIn as well, but that's not to say it's not going to be there. But yes, as in those mails, the phishing ones and all the treasure code, somebody has got a treasure and they want me to help them get it, and those kind of stuff also happen.
True.
So, okay. But that doesn't mean that this is to be a place to be staying away from.
So what's your solution, Anish? Do you think something like, for example, having I remember when I was in IBM, I had a digital or social media coach. There was a youngster in my team because he knew Utkarsh knew much better than me. I said, can you be my coach? So he was the youngest member of the team and he was coaching me. How should I operate my social platform, my social presence? He was really, really good. So do you think any comment, Prachi, from you or Megha? I mean, do you think a coach or digital coach kind of thing, a friend who knows more, just taking help is better thing to do? What has worked?
Sanjeev, this is just an example of what happens when you apply for a job. A man apply for a job, even if he's like 6 out of 10, a woman will only apply when
6 is too high. 6 is too high. Yes.
11 out of 10, and then a woman will apply. This is just another example that one side is that a lot of women think that my work will speak for itself and I don't really have to talk about it. I don't have to network. I don't have to communicate, engage. So forget about social media. They're not ready to communicate, engage within the organization as well. And this is more a problem with women who are in technology. And the other side is, the other extreme of it is that you almost, for lack of a better word, I would say, you almost become an alpha male, where you're ready to sort of forego everything that you have, your strengths. And as I'm saying it, I'm remembering Jacinda, the ex-president of Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she took a lot of pride in saying that I'm soft.
My tank is full.
Yeah, and she took a lot of pride in saying, I'm soft, I'm compassionate, I'm yet very effective as a leader. Who says you need to be a man always in a woman's body to become successful? So you can be, so it's just the same example that either I will not be on social media at all, or I will go bonkers. I'll just do 10 posts in a day. So just awareness, and as you said about IBM, you got a reverse mentor. It's really important to learn it from an expert. Why not just pick up one person who's good at it, learn the techniques of it, and then see how it suits you. It suits me that I do two posts a week. Great. At least start somewhere. I love what Anish said, that he's teaching women at least start
step by step.
Yeah, start liking a post, start commenting on a post. That opens me up. One day I'll write a story there, and that'll open a certain part of my brain and a certain part of my heart, and I'll come somewhere in between. So it's really important to choose the middle path for a woman, for a man, for any other gender. So don't copy others who are so much on the internet, social media, and don't be like too scared of social media at all. So choose the path that suits you.
Balance is the most difficult thing, Prachi, to achieve in anything that we do. So the pendulum swings this way or that way much more. So
in fact,
go ahead.
Just to add to what Prachi said, when she was talking about this orientation, about how men would apply even if they are 6 on 10 and women would wait for 10 on 10. I think it has a lot to do with the conditioning as well. what happens, and it's not just conditioning, it's also the kind of words we use. So a lot of research tells us that, the kind of words we use for men and women, they're different and they have different connotations. And sometimes when we use the same word for a man and women, it is construed differently. So for example, an ambitious man is great, but an ambitious woman could be perceived to be cunning or manipulative and so on and so forth. So I think it is also fear many times that, Prachi was saying that a lot of women don't speak up for themselves in the organization. They don't really want to talk about their work or tell people the good work that they're doing. Whereas you will notice that a lot of men find it very easy to do that. Because again, women have been conditioned that they should always be a collective, a team player, maintain that harmony. And I think somewhere because of that kind of conditioning, many times women shy away from sharing, not just on social media, but otherwise, in one-on-one interactions or in the organization as well. So I think that, again, there is a certain amount of shift which is required there. And that's where I think allies also play a great role, and so do sponsors. Yeah.
Absolutely. So while I will, Vijaya, would you like to share the screen? I have a couple of announcements to make, but while she's doing that, one question, because people coming into the workforce and then moving up, etc., that's fine. But in terms of education, right, the pipeline, even to the workforce, because in technology, why we're struggling for, women in technology is an issue, isn't it? Why it is because, and that starts from the education itself. How many women are into the computer sciences or STEM education, right? So Megha, anyone, Megha, or you, or, in particular, if you can talk, you are in, educational sector. What is happening in terms of promoting women into the technology areas, right? What's happening around that? I have a couple of announcements to make, but I'll do it after I hear your comment.
Right. So I can say for my institute, so what is happening is that, of course, there is a lot of focus on taking more women students, because NITI traditionally being, of course, about industrial engineering. So again, that word rings a lot of bells because a lot of people associate to be a male-dominated career. But that's not the case now. Trends are changing. So while, of course, we are working towards increasing the number of women candidates in our institute, and hopefully when we become IIM Mumbai soon, there will be more examinations wherein we can sort of open it up to streams of arts and commerce as well, because right now it's restricted to engineering, right? So we want to diversify in that sense. But I'm happy to share that as far as faculty strength is concerned, we have a very healthy percentage of faculty of women representation as far as faculty is concerned, and it's only improving. So that is the positive news. And of course, we're still work in progress as far as increasing the number of women students is concerned.
Grace, Prachi, Anish, anyone, what are you hearing? What can we do as parents and as brothers, sisters, whatever can we do in the society to promote them getting into this technology stream?
Okay, I'll start off. So see what happens as a parent. If you're a parent of boys, that you have a additional responsibility. If you're boys, I have two boys at home, so a lot of these mindset creation happens from home. So and these are people who would go and the way it is studied, it's all it's dominated by them. So if they get to know that there is this thing, and they understand equity and equality in that sense, and from by the time they are maybe 18 years old, then we have a much better society that to lead us, and they are going to be the future for the next I think 25 years. That our average age is going to be under 35 for our country. So I think that those are much at design level changes that we can all do. Maybe some of the CSR attempts can be put in towards getting parents of boys.
A lot of money, in fact, a lot of corporate CSR fund is getting into education, and I know it is quite bit focused on. I know of HCL or Wipro's foundation, they're spending billions of dollars in education, and I know focused on women education as well. So thank you very much, Prachi and Grace. Any quick comment on how do we create a pipeline, because it's a long battle, isn't it? Unless we participate at the education level, they will never come to the workforce at all.
Yes, so Sanjeev, in the interest of time, I also have a hard stop. So in the interest of time, a couple of things that we are doing at Informatica, right? One, get senior to mid-level leaders, managers, etc., to actually go and talk in these women-only universities.
Institutes. Okay.
Institutes, because when they share their story, when they kind of really talk informatica and what does it take, there's always a curiosity, interest, and people subscribe to it more, right? And we are talking women only colleges, right? Second, we've really taken technology in terms of signing up MOUs with universities where we're infusing the informatica curriculum into universities. We've been successful with about 4 or 5 universities now, and we're targeting a lot more. Right. So
Thank
those
you.
are two things. But the one last thing is, maybe because I'm a woman, I'm also a mother to my son. What I realize is, when there are working women in the house, I don't think a particular education is required for the children, especially the male child who's growing, because
They
I
see
can
that.
my son can head diversity teams anywhere in the company, because he's already at that level where he's able to
Okay.
naturally grasp and understand, right? So that's just from me, and thanks for having me here, Sanjeev.
Wonderful to have you here. Prachi, you wanted to make a comment here.
Sanjeev, I'd just like to say that, while COVID, unfortunately, we lost a lot of women in the industry. IBM actually increased 7% women since 20% in the overall headcount. And I'm not here to list down everything that we do at IBM. I think we pioneer diversity and inclusion for 100+ years, and that speaks. What I want to say is, doesn't matter which company you work for, at what level you are, and what gender you are. I think as a parent, or as absolutely any role that you play in the organization, as I play, what I do is more important than what I say. So talking, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, so
True.
many panel discussions, why we should be diverse, what we can do. I think we learn the most from role models. Like Dr. Grace said, when a mother is working, a child knows. When a father goes and takes equal responsibility in the kitchen, in the house, a child sees that. Seeing
Thank
is
you.
more important than listening. That makes an impact.
Thank you. I think that's so. We thank you very much for everyone to join this session. It was exciting. I wish we could carry on more, and it was focused more on solutioning, right? What best practice, what has worked for you, rather than the problem. We all know the problem. And in the digital space, a couple of announcements. As Enabling World, we do offer some programs on International Women's Day around. Anyone who is interested can leverage those, and functional training and etc., so that you can go to our site and catch up on. There'll be a small poll here on how the session was. Did you like it? Did you learn? Did you take one bit from this session that you would like to make a difference at the workplace that you are into, in your family, in your house, or at the workplace? Is something I would like to hear from you. But thank you very much to Megha, Grace, Anish, and Prachi. All of you are wonderful, and the amazing audience, Sajid and KLT. I mean, everyone was so. I mean, there was a parallel session running actually along with that, so that was amazing. I'm very optimistic. I mean, certainly it's a long battle, but I think that's one our commitment to the next generation, that we did not give up on our efforts to accelerate, to bridge the gap to as much as we can by, I would say, embracing equity. So with that, stay safe, continue creating a very diverse population wherever you're working, and support that cause. Anyone, maybe a single person around you, right, will be great thing to do. So with that, we'll close the session today, and then we'll talk to you again soon. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
everyone.
Stay
much.
safe.
Very best. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Anish.